Hey everybody, this is Carl back again for another X-Men related solo review. And here I'm covering one of the most infamous Marvel characters, probably up there with something like Carnage, Victor Creed, aka Sabretooth. Now before we continue, please, if you're watching this on YouTube, like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, uh, uh, leave a comment on what you think about this, about Victor Creed. Excuse me. Sorry, I had some peanuts a few minutes ago. Not a good way to start the stream. I'm sitting there, dust in my throat. If you're watching this on Twitch, please definitely subscribe, follow me. If you want to join and chat with me live, follow me on my Twitter, Patreon, Instagram. Yeah, let's begin. Of course, I gotta say, I actually have the first issue of this 4-issue miniseries of Sabretooth. I actually have it physically. For years, I have never managed to know what the full story is. But in a way, this story, they kind of got, well, if you watch the 90s X-Men TV show, dealing with like Sabretooth's past, I'm assuming they got it from this story. Don't know which came first, but I imagine the comic came first. But I don't want to spoil just yet and want to get through the story first. But before all that, we'll go through his superpowers, which, is gonna be fairly fast. Of course, he has, like Wolverine and Deadpool, he has a super healing factor, the same stuff. Super senses like Wolverine. He has, claws, not like Wolverine, but all 5 fingers. He has claws of each of his fingers and toes, which can penetrate most flesh and most natural materials. It mentions they play fast and loose. Not fast and loose. I was like, depending on the writer, Sabretooth has adamantium lace claws. Fangs, super strength, can briefly lift over 800 pounds. Superhuman speed, able to dodge gunfire. Stamina, durability, enhanced reflexes and agility. Expert hand-to-hand combat expert. Master tracker, actually got a cunning intellect. He usually like to play stupid, but he actually is quite cunning. Expert marksman, manipulator, covert ops specialist, weaknesses like Wolverine, the Muramasa blade and carbonadium poisoning, which nullifies healing factors. Vulnerable senses, his senses are so heightened that you can easily overwhelm them. Memory issues, since he lived such a long life, his memories, without memories of certain Sabretooth has gone large periods of life without memories of certain traumatic events. You can drown Sabretooth because without brain to the oxygen, the brain can't tell the body to heal. And of course, if you decapitate or cause severe spinal damage, you can kill him. So yeah, that is fairly quick. So anyway, Sabretooth, created by Chris Claremont and John Byrne, The story we're covering is written by Larry Hammond, and the artist, which I'm digging this art, Mark Texexiera. Texexiera? Because, man, I love the use of shadows in this. This is very good. It's like fuzzy shadows. It's the only way I can kind of describe it. Fuzzy shadows. And it kind of works here. You know, I'd never expected it to, like, you know, be pleasing to the eye, honestly. So Sabretooth's coming home from a job, and automatically, you know, he gets like an unexpected welcome home party with tons of hand ninjas trying to ambush him, which clearly is not going to work. His Seattle mansion is being like overrun, and his kind of like his right hand woman named Birdie, who is a kind of like a low level psychic but carries big guns. I mean, this is made in 1993, so of course guns are like, you know, there's no way a woman of that small frame can carry a large gun like that, and she's wielding it with one hand. It's like, it's crazy. The 90s are crazy when it comes to like these big guns. Of course, it's during the age of awesome action movies where like that kind of thing is just like, yeah, extreme, you know, action packed kind of stuff. And if you remember, if you ever played Marvel vs. Capcom 2, you remember Birdie. And it's like when you play a Sabretooth, and one of his special moves, you call him like Birdie. Like, Birdie! Yes, boss! And that's all, you know, every time I, you know, because Birdie, you know, showed up at least twice. Once here in the 90s, and I don't think she ever showed up again until like, you know, maybe around when, you know, current X-Men was doing like the Krakoa thing, and she's one of like Nightcrawler's teammates or something like that. When his own little subsection of X-Men team. So I'm glad somebody remembers Birdie, probably because they remember playing the game. But yeah, I'm so glad somebody remembered Birdie, like, you know, just because, you know, they played the freaking game. And all I can know, like, I hear her voice, it almost sounds almost Long Island type of voice, kind of like, you know, Fran Drescher, Harley Quinnish. Yes, boss. So he's going out to Birdie. It's like, where's my defenses? Like, you know, what's going on? They shouldn't even been getting this far. So Birdie's dispatching these guys, you know, a quick succession. And then once the dust is settled, she's informing him about like, you know, there's work piling up because, you know, Sabretooth's been gone for a while, probably some kind of previous adventure, and cause, you know, he getting paid to, you know, just be a hitman essentially. So he has Birdie here to not only like pretty much have like a right hand to handle like other affairs. She's also there to kind of like, in a way, you know, keep him lucid, because given his savage animalistic nature, it kind of makes him not that effective as like a professional hitman. So that's what she's there for, to push like any like those bad memories to kind of like creep up, or those, you know, bad natures that he needs to be able to like do his business. But then she sees like, you know, Creed as a kid, and if you recall, Creed was, you know, extensively abused by his father, and it's only his mother kind of like has some kind of like empathy. But, you know, given like they probably lived in the South, he was chained up in the basement with a muzzle. And you can see why he just embraced the fact that he always been called like an animal. He just eventually just embraced that. But later on that night, there's another assault on the house. But this time it's about these soldiers. And it turns out Birdie kind of like, you know, betrayed Creed. She essentially let, you know, turn off the traps and let these guys in. And Creed, you know, quickly wakes up and knows somebody's in his house. And he dispatches a lot of those guys, but it was too many, and they kind of caught him with his pants down and dragged him to this guy named the Tribune, which I can't help but think about what Deadpool would say. It's like, just like with Ajax, you got your name from the newspaper. How dumb is that? But he's called the Tribune, wearing this janky, busted up wannabe Iron Man suit, and doesn't look like it, even like I read this story, it doesn't even do much. He's still like by the time this guy actually do something towards the end, he just, you know, just utilize guns. Why you wear a suit like that without it doing something? So it's just for show. And of course he want to keep his, you know, identity a secret, but it's like, you gotta do that in a myriad of ways. If you have like a suit of armor, it better do something. But anyway, they implanted a bomb inside Creed's chest, and they force him to go after Mystique. It's like, you know, we will deactivate this bomb if you complete your objective in dispatching Mystique. And then they showed him how effective it is by killing a hand ninja they captured. And Creed mentions like, yeah, I'll do your job, but as soon as I'm done, I'll come after you. So it's been like a week since his capture, because it was way over in New York, and he, you know, has a place in Seattle. So they literally was like, you know, from one end of the country to the other. And he comes back, you know, looking for Birdie because pretty much betrayed him. And like, how dumb is this woman? It's like, why would you stay there? You don't think, I don't know, maybe she, you know, she wasn't given like the full details of what they was planning. I'm not even sure, like, why would she betray him? Well, you could think of myriad of ways of why she would betray him, but it's like, why wouldn't you just, you know, as soon as they carted him off, gather your stuff and dip to parts unknown, like go to South America or some, well, of course he can easily trace her steps if we have, but that's the thing, given the fact that he got super senses, don't leave any piece of clothing or anything behind for him to sniff, because he will eventually track you down. But of course that doesn't really last long. It's like, how was the wiki mentioning, like his super senses, his sense of smell, a highly developed olfactory sense and memory allow him to detect and track a scent over 8 hours old with a concentration of 20 parts per million. So yeah, he might eventually lose track of her, but it's like, I don't want to give him that chance. But this stupid broad, you know, stayed, and of course she just now want to, like, you know, get out of there. But the only smart thing she did was slash all the tires but one that she's taking. But of course Creed has like a secret bike that he didn't tell her about, and he's chasing after her. but he didn't kill her. He need her get inside his head, so that way he can gather information on the whereabouts of where Mystique will be hiding. And of course, their search lead them to Paris, where Mystique is. And of course, they found the penthouse where she's staying at, and Creed burst in, and Mystique, not even phased. Very little that phases Mystique. She, take a glass of alcohol that she's drinking and smash it upside his head. And of course, it doesn't faze him, but she light a match, lit him on fire, and then start hightailing out of there. And they go on this big merry chase through Paris, through like the subway system and everything like that. And she even like changed her form, try to blend in, but he knows her scent all too well. And so, because once he gets a lock on you, like, if you're in the city, he will track you down. It's best to even, just probably take a plane out of the state, or to like, or wash your, run through like a sewage, or a swamp or something like that. It's the only way you probably can get the smell off you, so you can like lose track of you. But she takes the form of his mother, which kind of distracts him a bit. He quickly snaps out of it, but he's wondering like, well, how do you know what even my mother even looked like? This all develops later, and eventually the chase leads to the Eiffel Tower, where she transforms into like a former spy operative that he used to know, which, last he remembered, she's supposed to be dead. So how does Mystique know about her? And then in comes Wolverine. Don't even know why he's here, or even know. Maybe like Mystique called him, but he's showing up in like a very snazzy suit, and of course his X-Men uniform is underneath. The very Casino Royale. But Mystique, if mentions like, okay, well, call a truce right now. If you want to know what's what, let's just chill for a second. So she explains that, the fact that she about this form, even though the person is supposedly dead, she been dead long before you think that you have met her. Mystique had, is an expert spy and operative in her own right, and she was Sabretooth was called on a job, like a special ops job, and Wolverine kind of corroborated this, because while working with Wraith and Maverick, during the Weapon X program, Sabretooth kind of went AWOL for a while, and he was out on a job where he met up with this Liv person, and they eventually kind of shacked up, and then she ended up leaving. But Mystique points out that was her the whole time. This Liv person was just like an accountant that that died and was found in like a Paris canal, and she took a form to be able to do whatever she needs to do without raising that much suspicion. So Sabretooth kind of like had enough of this nonsense, and then she points out that the person, they're all being set up by their son, and of course the son is Grant and Creed, and that's not to bury the lead here. the Tribune guy is Grandin Creed. Don't even know why especially after this revelation occurs, don't know why we need to keep on with this stupid facade with this janky Iron Man suit. But of course Sabretooth doesn't kill her, because now he's like, okay, this is like, he needs to find out like what's what. And of course him and Wolverine had to tussle, but we gotta, when you get these two together, they gotta have like a couple of pages of fighting. But Birdie tries to threaten civility in the room with a grenade, but of course Wolverine kind of use his claws to keep, like the pin was out, but he uses a claw to keep the thing from exploding. But Mystique snatched it up and tossed the grenade. Sabretooth grabbed Birdie, jumped out off the window of the Eiffel Tower, and Wolverine just like, this is, it's like, this is weird kind of situation, but it's like, Mystique talking about he doesn't know what you don't know nothing about this. He just says like, I don't know much, but I know I don't like you. So he just walked off. I mean, it's fun to see Wolverine. I like the artist rendering of Wolverine in this, but I personally don't think he was needed. It's like, I mean, he didn't really serve much of a purpose outside of corroborating the fact that, yeah, Sabretooth was AWOL for a while back in the day, when he's supposed to have been with the team. But beyond that, I don't know. That's probably the one thing, which is odd to say, Wolverine did not need to be here. And he didn't even bother to go chase after Sabretooth, given the fact that how much he does not like him and want to give any chance to put a stop to him. He just kind of dips off. So on the way back to New York, Sabretooth has Birdie reach inside his mind during the moment when there was implanting that bomb in his chest. He has Birdie to look around the room, and they notice like a plaque in not in a room per se, but he was doing like a video call with one of his assistants, and they know there's like a New York skyline behind her, but in the room she was in, there was like a plaque about CC Industries or something like that. And so they know, okay, we'll know what the building is, so we'll just go there in New York. And Sabretooth grabs a hold of, despite arming up, it's pointless because Birdie and Sabretooth can just blitz through all the of Grandin's forces. And it kind of reminds me of Into the Spider-Verse movie, where all these scientists like at like a lunch table and they just grab guns underneath the tables. It's like, that's how it looks to me. It's very funny, but it's useless. They might as well be throwing snowballs at this guy. He throws Tribune out the window. Of course, he manages to catch himself, and he grabs a hold of one of the scientists that operate on him. He takes one of his claws and actually opening his own chest. And this dude's a sadistic. And I'm like, I just want to see like a team up between him and Carnage, because these two are the most lethal, sadistic individuals in Marvel Comics. So the guy literally had to just reach inside his body and pull out the the bomb and deactivate it. Well, he didn't deactivate it, he just pulled it out, and Creed threw it out the window and it explodes. And he points out like, oh yeah, that would have made me a bloody smear. Yeah, definitely, that would have done the trick. So as Grandin's getting his bearings, Creed sees through the eyes of this scientist, and it's like, oh, okay, Grant is about to take a shot. He turns around and empties his entire clip into the back of this scientist, and he sees that he has Birdie reach inside this guy's head so he can see who he really is, and it turns out, yeah, this is his son. And he's, if he got anything from Creed, is his sadistic nature. And I can't help but think about that episode in the 90s X-Men show where Wolverine kind of put him on blast in front of the his little mutant hating group, where it's like, you're not my father, you're not my father. And we see this big hologram of Sabretooth, and he's come to the realization that he's having a complete meltdown that, yeah, like he was born from the union of Mystique and Sabretooth. And Mystique had like at least a handful of kids, one being adopted, which is Rogue, but he had like Grandin and Nightcrawler. And there's like at least a couple of them, but those are probably like the big ones. And so he just like hates where he comes from. And of course, Wolverine points out like, wow, you're a real mother of the year. Your kid probably just needed like a hug, because Wolverine recognized from the photo that was shown while they was in Paris, like, what this guy really looks like, and what their son looks like, and it's like, oh, I know him. And it's like, wow, like no wonder he hates mutants as passionately as more than anybody else. The fact that he had you two as parents, so of course he's gonna have like evil intentions towards mutants as a whole. Because from Mystique's bio that I read during my Mystique solo comic review, since Grandin didn't really didn't produce any mutant abilities, she kind of just cast him off like you're useless to me in the long run. She only cares about her mutant children. So Sabretooth not really interested in actually bloodying his hands on his own kid, but he was contemplating on snapping his neck though, but not before that Grandin took out a blade and killed Birdie that was sitting standing next to them. And he's wondering like, why? Well, like, you don't care about much, but you care about her because he managed to like kind of keep you kind of lucid. Now you gotta live with all the like horrors in your mind and just be the animal that you are. And so he doesn't kill his son and just walks away. But yeah, that's pretty much this mini series of Sabretooth, which I really dig, more so because of the art more than anything. I love looking at this comic book. But yeah, I mean, I love the story, this whole origin with Creed and his lineage. So yeah, I mean, this is like a dope comic. It's very fast. You can probably get this done within a day. But man, it's an awesome story. But it's fun to see Birdie. It's a lot of stuff that's fun. Like the only two cons I had about it is the fact that you kind of waste Wolverine, didn't really need to be there, and secondly, this whole Grandin Creed Tribune guy, he could have just like, sure, maybe the first issue, have him like all incognito, don't need power, not even a power suit, but some weird armored suit that doesn't do anything. You could have him in like a cloak or something. But by second or third issue, it just done with all the pretenses and kind of like just revealed like who he is. But anyway, yeah, that was Sabretooth. Let me know in the comments and below if you read this before, back, because this is like a fairly old comic. But what you think of Sabretooth as a whole, as a character itself? I think this might be like a I might be in the minority in this, but my favorite in terms of live action, my favorite interpretation of Sabretooth is Liv Schreiber's, Sabretooth, because he actually, despite the terrible movie, Liv Schreiber actually brought like some layers to the character as opposed to the first X-Men movie. The guy who played Sabretooth in that, because he might have fairly looked like Sabretooth, but most of his dialogue is just growls, and it's like, Sabretooth can actually speak coherent sentences, and is actually, tied to why he's so sadistic about, like, sure, you get a line like, "You owe me a scream," but it's like, Liv Schreiber can actually put on the sadistic quality and actually like add more to it. So maybe you can somehow combine the two, because you get Liv Schreiber, have him look somewhat similar to what we see in the 90s Sabretooth version, and like, have him look like it, but give his gravitas to it, and it'd be a good, like a good union of the both. But yeah. In a few minutes I'll be going over the X-Men movie Logan. So look forward to that. And I'll see you all soon. Peace.